Hello there and welcome to a special edition of Difference Makers Discuss. I'm Sinead Donovan, and over the past 12 months I have had the privilege to speak to global Chartered Accountant Worldwide members who are knocking the ball out of the park in the various facets of business that they are involved in. So today we're taking a look back at some of the most thought-provoking moments from our very first season, a smorgasbord, if you want, of the best bits. Season 1 saw 7 episodes in total, with members representing the UK, Singapore, Australia, Ireland and Pakistan. We heard from remarkable leaders and pioneers, people who are redefining what it means to make a difference in business, community and beyond. Whether you've been with us since the beginning or you're joining for the first time, this best of episode is your chance to revisit powerful insights, pivotal stories, and the ideas shaping the future of our profession. So let's begin our journey through the highlights of Season 1. In our first clip, we explored the importance of and the impact that technology is having. It is not just about connecting us in the present, but also about anticipating our needs for the future. We hear from Caroline Sherry, Chief Financial Officer at Hostelworld, which is a leading tech company in the travel space. Caroline is an inspiring leader, known for her passion for innovation and empowering others. And in our discussion, she reflected on her own career journey across industries, the importance of diverse perspectives, and her vision for growing the business whilst championing female leadership.
Because it's just another form of social, like a social network. I'm posting about your life and I'm here eating this and I'm doing this. What's unique about our business is we know where, instead of it being instantaneous, like I am doing this right now, our business is focused on, I will be doing this then in that place, the future. So it's all the data behind that then that will allow us to go, okay, well, Sinead likes these things and she's going to be here, so she should do this and she'll meet these people when she's doing it. That multiplied by about 10 million customers a year.
That is fascinating, and there is definitely learnings for us as a profession. Absolutely. As to how we should engage with this generation to make the attractiveness of the profession, ever more so. Yeah. That's fascinating. Coming towards the end, you talked about pivotal moments in your career, sliding doors moments, I sometimes call them. Can I be so bold as to ask, do you have a vision for the next 5 to 10 years? Do you set yourself goals?
I don't really, and that sounds slightly passive that I don't, but look, my career has been so varied. I've worked in banking, I have worked in FMCG, I'm now in tech, and I quite like that, and I quite like with careers. And when I interview people, I don't necessarily want someone who has worked in travel tech. I have plenty of people who work in travel tech. I want someone who's going to come with something different and their experiences, because I'll probably learn more from them and they'll learn more from me. But in terms of vision and goals, I would love to see this company fly. We have a fantastic group of people, 240 people, who have been with us through some intensely challenging times. And I'd like to see, I love the work that I do with the Balance for Better Business Review Group. I am very passionate about DE&I. I'm very passionate about leadership and female leadership and representation. I'd love to do more in that space. So I think for me, it's growing the business and it's seeing what more I can give back to it, like how I can help others with it, and support people on their journey as well. But I don't like to set myself kind of limitations or rules in it, because I haven't in the past, and it has worked for me in the past.
But it permits those sliding door moments to happen.
Yeah. You don't close yourself off. 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next up is Singapore, and we hear from Maria Cho, Sustainability and Climate Change Leader at CLA Global. Maria has a clear passion for sustainability and purposeful career growth, and she demonstrates that age is not a barrier to achieving leadership roles. She shares her observations on the importance of staying open to possibility, redefining success, and encouraging the next generation to find meaning beyond traditional career paths. Let's listen to her thoughtful perspective on what's guiding her journey forward.
I wouldn't say it's a case of not wanting to say, but sometimes I guess one of the driving factors for me is really not wanting to lock myself in too far in the future. So, for example, when I was an auditor, people were asking, do you want to make a partner? Do you want to be an audit partner one day, signing those financial reports? And I was like, that's kind of a long way down the road. And I don't think I want to lock myself down for that 10 or 15 years it would take to become a partner. So where I am right now is that I see roughly the development goals that I want to set for myself as to develop my skills in sustainability, to learn a little bit more about what people are doing, to help companies who are on the journey or who want to start the journey in sustainability, as well as to really get young accountants interested in what we're doing, to see that there is life beyond auditing, for example, to see that they could really build a career in what we do. It's not just black and white or just calculators and Excel spreadsheets. So I felt like going on this angle or with this in mind, that's going to shape my career in the next 5 to 10 years, because this is what I'm interested in championing, and I'm helping younger people get into what we're doing right now, or helping companies to move into a better space in the sustainability realm. Those are the two kind of key things that I want to promote in my career.
From Singapore to Australia and Tasmania, to be precise. And I spoke with Naomi Walsh, the trailblazing Vice President of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. In this clip, Naomi talks about how the profession of accounting is evolving and why we need to broaden the pathways into it. From early financial literacy programs to welcoming people with science backgrounds and diverse skills, Naomi shares her vision for a future where young people see themselves reflected in the profession and feel inspired to contribute. This is crucial to the development of the profession. And let's listen as she explains why a wider range of talents will be essential to tackle the challenges ahead.
This is something that I am really passionate about, attracting into the profession people that might not otherwise find their own way to the profession. And in some ways, I mean, there was not any real barriers to why I couldn't do this job, but I probably wasn't growing up. It wasn't necessarily where I was automatically going to land. So I think that for me, is thinking about, and we have some programs through Chartered Accountants, which I think are really good to plant the seed earlier in terms of the types of people that might get drawn to the profession. So we've got some programs around financial literacy in schools. So I think that's one that's really important. We've got some, programs that the way we actually profile the types of careers in accounting, to represent those so that people can imagine themselves in those roles, because I think that young people need a bit of a vision about being able to see themselves in that future vision. So I think that's a really good way to I guess, attract a diverse range of people into the profession. And I think that some of the other avenues, so it might not necessarily always be just accounting degrees, and I don't think it will be. In Australia, it traditionally has been really accounting degree into accounting, into chartered accounting, and that increasingly we're seeing some of the changes, particularly around climate, that it might be more of a science background that then, so you've got that science knowledge and background, and that's going to be really valuable in teams as we move forward into accounting. So it is going to take a lot of different profiles, a lot of different aptitudes and natural abilities to shape what is going to be the future of the profession. I think we are a long way past, that automatically looking at that maths ability. And, there'll be a whole range of, you think about some of the tools around AI, logic, problem solving are going to be those skills that we need to look for in young people, not necessarily just maths.
Continuing on our global journey, we hit Pakistan next and Asma Shabazz, Head of Process Governance and Business Operations Risk at Mashreg Bank. She shares how she guides young professionals as they enter the world of work. From helping them discover whether a workplace aligns with their values, to celebrating their clarity and purpose at such an early stage in their careers, Asma reflects on mentorship as a two-way exchange, one that also shapes her own perspective. In this excerpt, we hear her thoughts on fostering belonging, confidence, and connection across the generations.
I think analytics. So that way, yes, I think I'm a big supporter of using analytical tools and having dashboards, and I think that's a very good management tool as well.
Yeah. And do you think that we arm our students enough in understanding, I suppose, the use of analytics and how to interpret numbers, or is that something that you think we as a profession can get better at?
I think, Sinead, we are very naturally, I think the students of chartered accountancy, I think they understand numbers, right? But the tools that you have to use for, data analytics, that is something which I feel is definitely, till the time I was in touch, with academics, it was very much missing. But having said that, I know that, ICAP, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan here, is taking a lot of steps to kind of, introduce these courses, these diplomas, where the students can, enroll and learn more, and kind of become experts even at data analytics. So, a lot of appreciation for what ICAP is doing. But definitely, I think we need to look at, and probably they already are looking at it. Pardon my lack of information there. But yeah, definitely, I think this is one area that needs to be incorporated in the curriculum for sure.
Throughout this season, many of our guests have shared moments when their commitment became something bigger than themselves. In episode 6, I met Kudze Zandara, a director in balance sheet and liquidity management and treasury markets at Standard Chartered Bank. Kudze wanted to make a difference, and his journey started volunteering as a student in Zimbabwe, but took on a new dimension when he chose to speak out after the death of George Floyd. Here, he reflects on the power of using your voice and how one action can spark a much wider movement.
I mean, I think it really took off to a large extent when I was at Standard Chartered, but I think earlier on in my career, and even when I was in school, I have done things around sort of just giving back. So whether that's in Zimbabwe, we used to run a night school teaching program actually at the time. So how that worked was the staff who worked on the grounds and around the school would come in once a week after the school timetable had finished, and they would be taught English, maths, and science by students within the school. So I volunteered for that. It was a way of kind of giving back and helping them to pursue their what we would call O levels, but the equivalent is GCSEs. So that's something I did. So I've probably always had some form of helping out in some way, whether that's work experience or initiatives like that. But to your point, and when I'd say got into it a bit more seriously, so if you go a few years back, I think the death of George Floyd was within the UK and around the world a kind of awakening for a lot of people and a catalyst for people feeling either compelled or comfortable with sharing their life experience. In particular, what being an ethnic minority within whatever country they were in had meant for them. And I think while that was going on and people were sharing stories, and I was seeing organizations also kind of responding to what had happened by reaffirming their core values and beliefs, I myself also felt compelled to share my experiences of growing up as a Black person within and outside of the workplace within the UK. Now, I did that by sending an open letter to the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank. I emailed him one evening with an open letter to shout out to my wife because she was very supportive and encouraging of that. So I did that. He responded within about 24 hours and sort of said, hey, thanks for sharing this. How about you and I speak one-to-one, which was not something I was expecting. But that took place. We had a very sort of positive conversation, and that was a very positive experience for me. I shared that online on social media. So I shared the open letter and just the conversation I'd had with the CEO as well. And I think through that, I mean, I was kind of naive to how LinkedIn works at the time, but it got quite a bit of traction. And I guess it was viewed within and outside of my workplace and landed on ICAS's radar as well. And ICAS invited me to be a part of their ED&I network.
And finally, we close with Michelle Shuttleworth in the UK. Michelle's journey reminds us that careers don't always follow a straight line. From the lecture halls of LSE to the record stores of Virgin Entertainment, the corridors of the BBC, to where she is now in her position as CFO of the Francis Crick Institute, whilst also founding and running her own company producing sustainable clothing, Boa Wool. Michelle has so much energy, and she shares how embracing unexpected turns can lead to the most rewarding experiences.
So I did accounting and finance and economics actually at university, which is slightly tedious, but I studied at the LSE thinking, I think in those days you sort of didn't really know career advice wasn't particularly good. So you sort of think, well, I want to be a professional. And so that tends to either mean, well, I'm going to be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. And I knew I didn't want to be any of the other two. So I thought, well, I'll do accounting because that can probably let me do all sorts of things in the future. And then actually I did a internship when I was there with what was Coopers & Lybrand. And absolutely loved it. I mean, I think it was just, I was a sort of very normal girl from Essex, hadn't really traveled very much. They took us out to Greece. It was terribly exotic. And I got to meet lots of really interesting people from all different backgrounds. And I suddenly sort of felt this lesser brethren of this far wider world. And that really sparked a love of sort of a desire to go and join the Big Four, I think. So I went off and joined Coopers & Lybrand, which then quite rapidly became PwC. And as you say, specialised in insurance, financial services. And I spent some time there training in audit, but doing some transaction services and M&A, and latterly did some media M&A, which is what then got me into going to work with Virgin Entertainment, which for those who remember record stores, Virgin Entertainment had a load of record stores, basically, that including the big mega store on Oxford Street. So that was a fantastic experience. And I went from sort of this big, huge, very corporate environment, wearing some very smart suits and all the rest of it, to somewhere where people were turning up in flip-flops, and I didn't quite know what to do with myself. And I think what was brilliant about that was that I was sort of in my early 20s, and it really rubbed the edges off me. I think I'd had quite I hadn't appreciated till then actually what a narrow perspective I had being in that kind of environment. You know, you're surrounded by lots of people who are incredibly bright, who are all very driven, all very ambitious, and they've all got to a certain point in order to be part of that firm. And then I think what you realise when you go out into the big wide world is that there's a vast array of people from all sorts of backgrounds who are hugely successful in whatever they do, who are driven in a completely different way. So I loved that. And I spent about 3 or 4 years there doing all sorts of things. From they owned a site that was an nightclub in Manchester that they needed to work out what they were going to do with it. They'd bought to make into a cinema, and you know, all these sorts of random Richard Branson-esque things that come up. So it was also.
And did you meet the man himself?
I did, yeah, I did. He had an annual party, at a club on Kensington High Street that he had an involvement with. So all the staff would go every year up to this rooftop bar with flamingos and all the rest of it.
Sorry, real flamingos?
Real flamingos, yeah.
Stop it.
Extraordinary man, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Wow. So it's quite an interesting time, but a very cash-strapped organisation. So it was a lot of working through, retail at that time, particularly record stores with the advent of digital downloads, etc., was a struggling industry. So it was an interesting lesson in the importance of cash flow planning, actually, because I think probably in no other role since then, the cash flow sort of done itself once you've got your P&L and balance sheet. But in that one, it really was the king.
So I will leave you now, but I want to say a huge thank you for joining us today and throughout Difference Makers Discuss. I am so lucky to meet with these Chartered Accountants Worldwide members, and I hope that some of their stories may have resonated with you. We would love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your feedback, and please share this episode and connect with us on social media to keep the conversation going. If you have suggestions for upcoming episodes, drop us a line, and I look forward to welcoming you all to the next season of Difference Makers Discuss. So from me to you, keep asking questions, keep challenging assumptions, and keep making a difference.